got my overalls on today. Hello, this is What's with People with Doc Locke. I'm social psychologist Dr. Stephanie Lockmuller, and today we will be talking about the question, what's with people trying to be happy? Good vibes only. And what really makes people happy? You're happy and you know it, clap your hands. We all want to be happy. Even the Declaration of Independence and Kid Cudi state that we are on a pursuit of happiness. The Dalai Lama said that the very purpose in life is to seek it. But we should probably start by figuring out what we mean by happiness, because sometimes when we talk about it, we think of it as an emotion that is experienced, like, this hot dog makes me feel so happy right now. And sometimes we think of it as an overall way of being, like, I am happy with my life as a hot dog. This is what is called trait versus state. In personality psychology in particular, it's important to understand the difference between a trait, which is the way that a person is in most situations, or what is part of their personality that consistently shows through in their behavior and general way of thinking. Basically, it's who they are. Versus state, which is the way a person behaves or feels temporarily in a specific situation. For example, state level happiness is when you feel happy after getting complimented at work. That feeling is because of a specific situation that occurred, and that feeling will wane over time. Whereas trait level happiness is when you are content and happy with your career in general. So state level happiness is more of a feeling or an emotion, like feeling good or experiencing pleasure or feeling joy. And of course, that's fun to feel that way, and of course we do a lot of things to try and chase those feelings, but like all emotion, feelings are fleeting. They don't really stick around for very long, so chasing those feelings or that state level happiness will eventually lead us to feeling unfulfilled, since it doesn't last. However, filling our lives with meaning and pursuing things that we value and spending our time on earth doing things that really matter to us, this is what clinical psychologists say will lead us to trait level happiness from living a fulfilling life. And it doesn't just focus on the feel-goods. This is an important distinction because, news alert, life isn't always full of the feel-goods. Life is pain in a lot of ways. And even if things in your life are logistically or logically going really good, that doesn't guarantee that you'll feel the feel-goods. Sometimes things are fine, but you still feel like shit. So taking the focus off of chasing the feel-goods will help us to learn to handle those difficult times much better than if we're hyper-focused and obsessed with trying to feel happy momentarily. I sound like a Peloton instructor. Come on, everyone! Today is tomorrow's yesterday! So when we think about the question, what makes people happy? It makes sense to focus on the trait level happiness rather than the state level happiness. We already know what common things make people happy temporarily. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll! Yeehaw! But what makes a happy person? Research has found that there are 3 things that influence happiness at a trait level. The first thing is investing time in quality social relationships. This is actually the best predictor of a happy life. No surprise, given how often I mention the importance of being socially included. Remember? It's so important for us to be with people, and research shows that happy people spend more time with others. However, it is important to know that this finding doesn't tell the full story. Maybe being with others makes us happy, or maybe happy people are more likely to be with others, or maybe socially driven people are just happier. The last one's actually not true. Either way, researchers do agree that good relationships impact happiness in a very big way. The second happy maker is working towards things that you value and making progress on those things. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. That is a hard name. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is one of the founders of positive psychology, which is the scientific study of positive emotions and well-being. And he studied what is called flow, which is when a person is intensely focused and completely immersed in an activity and loses track of time while doing it. And it's usually a task involving creativity. He's pretty famous for his work to scientifically identify the 6 factors associated with the state of flow, which include intense focus on the present, combining action and awareness, the absence of self-consciousness, feeling in control of the activity or the situation, losing track of time, and feeling high personal reward reward, more so than feeling reward from things external to the self, like money, praise, etc. Activities that spark flow are different for different people. For me, it's creating these videos. For some people, it could be going for a jog or writing poetry or creating spreadsheets at work or shopping online and putting things in the cart and then never actually buying them, but like imagining how good you'd look in that outfit. But in general, if you're actively working towards goals and tasks that are challenging but make sense for your skill set, then you can experience flow. And research shows that this leads to increased trait level happiness. And the third happy maker, helping others makes us happy. That's because helping others helps ourselves. Remember, our brains are designed to make things that are important for the reproduction of our genes and survival to be rewarding so that we keep doing it. Doing it. Literally. Chemicals in our brain like oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine are released when we do things that are good for survival, like eating and sex and connecting with others. We've all heard that it feels good to help, right? Yeah, that's those chemicals swirling all around inside to motivate us to continue helping others so that we can get people to like us, which ultimately helps us survive and reproduce. We get in good and then we get it on. Yup, what she said. She's so smart. We do know that there are some things that impact our happiness that are just outside of our control, like living in an environment that's difficult, like being in a war-torn country or living in extreme poverty. That can obviously affect our happiness. For example, very poor people do tend to be less happy because they lack the bare necessities in life, like food and shelter and clean water, which affects their health and overall safety as well. But wait, don't they say that like money can't buy happiness? Well, in this case, no, that doesn't apply. But beyond that, it is actually true. For people who have the basics, anything extra money-wise doesn't really increase happiness. In fact, it turns out that people who put a lot of emphasis on having money and the finer things in life are less happy than people who could care less about that shit. That's because materialistic people generally have lower quality relationships and are less likely to enjoy the little things in life that money can't buy, like a nice bike ride or kisses from a cute little doggy. Is this a piggy? Ah, pig. One study demonstrated this by having people either see pictures of money or pictures of neutral random objects. They were then asked to eat chocolate. Ooh, that's a fun study. It was found that the people who did not see pictures of money enjoyed the chocolate more than the people who looked at money. And it is said that even thinking of money reduces people's ability to enjoy those small pleasures like eating chocolate. You better not eat no chocolate. But what about lottery winners? I mean, they've got to be happier, right? It turns out that while lottery winners do experience happiness, it is a state level happiness. It doesn't last, and definitely not as long as you would expect. Overall, lottery winners are not happier than regular folk. This miscalculation of how we would feel is called affective forecasting error, which is when we try to predict how a future event will make us feel, either positive or negative, or the specific emotion that we think we will have, or for how long we will feel those emotions, and also how intense we believe those emotions will be. And while we're pretty good at guessing whether the emotion we will feel is going to be positive or negative, we generally overestimate all those other things. So for example, one study asked college students to predict how happy or unhappy they would be a year after being assigned to either a dorm they really wanted to be in or one they really didn't want to be in. It was found that the college students predicted that the dorm that they were assigned to would have a really big impact on their happiness. But when they actually surveyed them a year later, the students had nearly the same levels of happiness, regardless of whether they were assigned to the dorm they wanted or the one they didn't want. What that means is that they overestimated the impact that the situation would have on their happiness. Or, in other words, their forecast of their affect was an overestimation. So again, chasing state level happiness is fleeting, but trait level happiness is where it's at. But research has found that some people are just born with temperaments that are happier than others or that can withstand shitty situations better than others. But what if you don't have that temperament and you rarely experience trait or state level happiness? Well, there are things that you can do to achieve that, like through learning better coping skills and styles or working on resilience and learning how to use the technique of reframing. All of this can be learned in therapy, though I fully recognize that access to therapy is a privilege, even though it should be a right. Oh, therapy is not within your budget. There are nonprofit organizations that can help. It's just a Google search away. Also, Therapy is great. You don't actually have to be suffering or dealing with major issues to get benefits from therapy. It's a great tool to learn about yourself, and honestly, you're already interested in that in some way if you're into these videos. Now, with all that said, we gotta be really careful with the idea that everyone can be happy through effort, because this idea can be taken way too far to the extreme and can cause problems. Like, yes, adopting a positive outlook in life can be helpful, but that's not to say that we need to avoid experiencing and dealing with uncomfortable emotions altogether, because to be honest, you can't actually avoid painful emotions. We all feel them at some point, because as REM said, everybody hurts sometime. Fighting with them or denying their existence is a consequence of toxic positivity, which is that good vibes only mindset that has been shouted often online. And it's the belief that people should always stay positive no matter what they're going through. And, unfortunately, this mindset is not only unrealistic, but it can make people feel a little bit of shame or guilt for experiencing negative emotions. I mean, someone saying, look on the bright side, or get over it, or happiness is a choice, or don't worry, be happy, after you go through something hard will make you feel like shit rather than make you feel better, no matter how well-intentioned the sentiment is. In other words, while it is possible and helpful to be optimistic in difficult situations, these statements that I just said can be a little dismissive and invalidating and fault-provoking, and can lead people to believe that they should hide or minimize how they really feel or brush off the negative emotions from themselves and from others. And that's not good. For the next video, we'll talk in a little bit more detail about the theories of emotions, but I do want to say that overall, emotions are not really good or bad. They're just information. They give us insight into what we value, what's important to us, what we need, and what we need to change. And happiness is really no different. Experiencing state-level happiness gives us information about what matters to us and what we value. And we can use that information to pursue those values in order to gain trait-level happiness and satisfaction with a life well lived. So I hope this video made you feel happy, although that would be state-level happiness. For more videos, check out whatswithpeople.com and find us on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all of those places. Bye! Happy, I should do it. Clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.